the volume of data is astonishing and really exciting. It means there is always something to optimize.
Welcome back to the DraftKings Life podcast. I'm Rebecca, a recruitment marketing senior specialist. Today, we have two teammates who love data and love creating insights that will help drive business decisions. We're talking to stellar analysts, Tyler and Joanna.
Great to be here. So I am a senior director on our analytics team, and I lead our marketing analytics department. So focusing on everything from how effective our external spend is across different channels for all of our verticals, as well as our internal communication, email, push, forecasting, and a lot of things.
And yeah, my name's Tyler. I'm a senior manager on the sportsbook product analytics team. So basically what my team does is use data to tell stories about how people use the app, what pages they like, what features they like, the stuff they interact with, the stuff they don't interact with. So then we can work with the product team to make sure our app is best in class.
And what brought you guys into being analysts? Why did you want to be here and work with numbers and data?
Yeah, so I've loved math my whole life, loved problem solving. And I've also loved sports. And so, was a baseball fan growing up because I like to be able to calculate people's averages and figure out how many at-bats they'd had. So it's always been a theme in my life. I've had a number of different roles in my career, from finance to marketing, and then shifting into a more strategy and analytics role. And had gotten into sports later in my career. And so when I saw this role at DraftKings, initially I joined here on the product analytics team that Tyler's on now, for a sportsbook. And it was just the perfect marriage of technology, analytics, sports, using data to make decisions. So I love being able to look at data and use that to make better decisions and find new ways of looking at the world and looking at our business, and doing it in a sports context is really fun.
I think my path was a little different. So I actually came to DraftKings right out of school.
Oh, awesome.
So I probably fell into the bucket of, I actually have no idea what I want to do. Fun fact, DraftKings was the 16th company that I interviewed at.
Wow.
So a lot of shots on net.
Yeah.
There was a lot of banking and consulting type stuff that a lot of my friends were doing. So I thought I wanted to do that. I was talking to a lot of people, doing a lot of interviews, got through 15 of those, and then realized that's not what I wanted to do. So I kind of reset. I was like, okay, well, what am I interested in? I played sports growing up, soccer specifically, for any of the American soccer fans out there.
Love it.
And I wanted to do something with sports. I want to do something quantitative. I didn't know exactly it was analytics, but what ended up happening throughout the process with DraftKings, I kind of learned that what the role was requiring and what they were asking us to do was really aligned with what I wanted to do. So lucky number 16, it ultimately worked out, and almost 6 years later, still loving it.
That's awesome. And you both have been here for quite a while too. What has kept you here, and what do you love about working here?
So it's definitely the people. I am excited to come to work and work with different people who are focused on the same problem, or sometimes different problems, and come with different angles, different perspectives, different backgrounds. So people who've been at DraftKings for as long as Tyler and know so much about the business and the product and how our data works here, to people who come in with totally fresh perspectives, and can bring best practices from other organizations, or there's always someone to learn from, and also to teach. We get to collaborate together, and I think that's one of the most exciting things. As a business, we're growing, and whether that's growing in new verticals, new states, new products, or just growing in our understanding of things. I think where we are as a business, we know our customer better than we used to. We know our product better than we used to. We know our markets and our audience, and how we work as a business. So I think there's constant momentum going forward, and everyone's in it. We're working towards that goal, and where there's tension, it's pushing us together better in a way. It's bringing in new things and evaluating different ways. It's not just one way of doing things, but you get to work with people who are motivated and trying to solve the same sort of problems that we're solving, and keep learning. So yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Always learning.
Yeah,
that is for sure.
Yeah, I was going to say the people, but I'll pick something else that'd be interesting. I feel like there are a lot of companies that talk about being data-driven and want to use analytics to make decisions, but when push comes to shove, they don't right? In my experience here, it's been really great because whether you are entry-level analyst 6 months out of college or senior director who's been here for 4 or 5 years now, you get sort of the same level of influence, and you kind of get a seat at the table, and you get to, if you do good work, you get to show it to a lot of people, and if you can convince them that it's correct and we should act on it, you actually get to do that. And so the ability to have influence here is really cool at all levels of the business.
And even as a manager too, how do you influence younger people or even other people on your team to really voice that opinion? And why is that so important to have those different backgrounds and perspectives always willing and always wanting to share their ideas?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think so it's in our DK behaviors. One of them is act like an owner, and another is doing the right thing. If you see an opportunity that you think we're not going after that is good for the business, you have that ownership over it, and that those behaviors are something we value in all levels. It's not just for owners or stockholders or whatever, shareholders, whatever it is. It's true down to every level. I think building business context is so important. I said I came from sports, but on the team side, and sports betting and casino and Pick Six is, they're very different products. And so understanding that, I think you can't do that alone. Some people come in, having used our products, but I guess that's more common now that we're legal in more states, but people come in without really knowing. And so you have to kind of build that together. And as I mentioned, we've learned so much. Like, no one comes in knowing all of that history. And so working together and creating that space to share findings and then amplify other people's work. So just today I was in a presentation for one of our summer interns, and the work was exceptional and people were super excited about the project and got a lot of messages afterwards. Can I share this with our chief revenue officer, our chief marketing officer? Like, we think this is going to make a difference. And so it's doing great work and having other people evangelize that work as well. This is her last week, so other people will take on the mantle. But I think making sure we're focused on the priority and what the business impact is means that people are going to find really cool things and be able to share them.
Good for her.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah.
That was a great internship.
Yeah, I mean, it's like exactly what I was just talking about, right? The intern project that goes all the way to the chief revenue officer. It's like that. Those are like real opportunities here, and I think that's exciting for a lot of you.
How do you describe the overall team culture?
Well, so it's great. I said kind of from the start, like after I got to know the team, that the reason I love DraftKings is like people are smart and people are nice. And it's like, I've worked with a lot of people in my career. It's rare to find that combination consistently in pretty much everyone you meet. And we have a really big analytics department. It's 160 people or something like that. And so I think culture touches at all sorts of levels. For the analytics department as a whole, we have things like our CARE, which is Collaborative Analytics Repeatable Excellence. Love an acronym.
Yeah.
And a social squad and a best practices squad and other squads that bring the whole team culture together. And then intra-team, there's a lot of things. And so whether it's in my old team, we did a jam session, and that was every 3 weeks, and just someone bring a topic and let's jam on it. Let's figure out, ideas and how we might approach it. Different teams have marketing analytics. I'm still learning some of the traditions because it's a new team for me. But there's a lot of things that have come through the years, and then new people come in and they bring new traditions with them. So I think each team has their own culture to some degree, and that's allowed to be fostered while maintaining kind of norms and full analytics team's culture as within the broader DraftKings culture as well. So it's a lot of there's a lot there.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things I talk about a lot when people ask in interviews about the culture is whether it's the work side, whether it's the social side, whether it's whatever piece of working at DraftKings you want to talk about, it's passionate. And that passion is very genuine. And so, on a project level or on more of a work level, we're trying to do the right thing all the time. We're always stretching ourselves to learn new ways to do stuff, to, give critical but helpful feedback on other people's work to raise the bar there. On the social side, we know when the time to work is, we know when the time to play is. I think we do a good job balancing that. People are genuinely invested in everyone on their team and teams around them.
What are the growth opportunities that you've seen here, and like even from your team too? How has your team grown over the last few years?
So I like to say every 9 to 12 months I get a new role or new opportunity. And it's been great. So I've been within the analytics team for that whole time, but each shift kind of adds something and gives me a new perspective. And so whether it's even as simple as someone moving off your team and someone new coming and getting a new perspective from that person, but also taking on different responsibilities. Or I mentioned the care squads. Leading a care squad is something that even if your role is the same, you can stretch across your cross-analytics influence or ability to make change for the organization as a whole. So I've been in sportsbook product, data science product management, a sportsbook team that's really focused on long-term impact and projects, and now this marketing analytics role. So I think the ability to be open to new things, the ability to show that you can learn and crave those new opportunities, because Tyler's career is going to be really interesting, where it's a little more linear. But I remember a quote, I think from Lean In, where it's your career is a jungle gym, not a ladder. Because if it's a ladder, there's only you're just looking at someone's butt above you. But if you look at what's horizontal or diagonal or something, there's just tons of opportunity. And so I mentioned our team's 160 people. There's so much opportunity within analytics alone. Other people have moved outside of analytics because they work with product managers and want to be a product manager, or they work with marketers and they want to be a marketer. But even within analytics, there's a ton of different opportunities that present themselves, and a lot of openness to seeking those out.
Love it.
But if you don't like jungle gyms, we do have ladders. I would imagine one of the few who has stayed on the same team for this long. And I think that's kind of a testament to a lot of our growth as an organization. So when I joined, I think I was employee 500 something. We're almost 5,000 now. And so I got to experience hey, we're just hiring a lot of people and we're doing a lot of new stuff, and we need people to step into leadership roles maybe sooner than they would have expected. And I think when you look at the future of our products, whether it's more growth in casino or getting into entirely new verticals that we're not even operating in now, you're always going to have that organic upward pressure. And so if you're someone who wants to get really, really, really deep on something and become an expert in it and just keep moving up the ladder more so than moving around the jungle gym, the fact that we're still growing so much, even almost 6 years after Sportsbook launched, will give those opportunities as well. So I think it's good that we have a lot of both, depending on what you're interested in.
Awesome. And we're a tech company, so we have a lot of data, a lot of different technologies, probably some of the most innovative in the industry. But what is it about our tech and our data that gets you so excited every day to come to work and really sift through those data sets?
So, I mentioned I came from a team side. There are a certain number of tickets for every game, a certain number of games in the season, and that was sort of it. And so coming here and seeing the volume of data is astonishing and really exciting. It means there is always something to optimize. There is, we work very closely with our product partners, our engineering partners, our data engineering, our data science partners. And I think knowing the infrastructure of our data and then recognizing what problems can be solved by going deeper into really specific pages or channels or something very narrow, and what can be much more broad and still new and bigger. And then whether it's an analytics-led project or a data science-led project, or we need data engineering support in order to bring that data together and tell a more complete story. A lot of this can be led by analytics, of recognizing the problems and bringing in partners to help solve them. And so it's just, there's no one path. Every analyst can share things that they learn and work in similar ways, but no one role is exactly the same, and no one role has the exact same data. And I think it just creates more opportunity for finding problems to solve.
Yeah.
You never really know all of it and you can never even think that you know all of it because there's so much volume. There's so many different things we're looking at across all these different analytics teams.
And live too, because it's sports betting. It's sports. You don't necessarily need to even love sports to work here because the data is just so different, I feel like, and just cool and live and constant. So that's like one thing that I've always seen with analytics too. It's like, yeah, you don't have to love sports, but hey, this data is pretty cool.
Absolutely. There's so many. I mean, first of all, a large part of our business is not from sports. Casino is one of our key verticals. So there's a lot of things to work on that don't even focus on the sportsbook product. But also it's problem solving and it's customer. You know, we're working on the customer and we're trying to make a better experience for the customer. We're trying to tell customers why DraftKings is such a great and fun entertainment place. We're trying to understand what customers like. We have a whole team focused on CX, customer service, like tickets and what customer complaints are and how we can reduce friction in the customer experience. It's all about providing that for our customers and using data to identify that. So, you know, I like sports and it is fun and it adds a component to it, but there are a lot of sports that a lot of our customers like that aren't mine, but we can still understand who they are and, you know, and how to solve their problems, even if they're not ours. Because even if you're the biggest sports fan, there is someone out there who loves our app for a totally different reason. And, you know, we have to be able to think bigger than just our perspective on it and really understand what they're looking for.
Awesome. And then what's one of the projects you've worked on that you're really proud of?
One of the things I spent a good amount of time working on was our experimentation kind of practices. And I'm a big believer that like process is a big way to solve problems, and that having the right people talking and aligning on things and just the right communication and the right ways of doing things can, you know, be as impactful as a great analysis. And so we saw a number of flaws in how we were doing experimentation, largely on the product side, but kind of at all areas of our business. And I set out with a team of data scientists, product managers, analysts, engineers to figure out what we were doing, what best in class looked like, and what those gaps were, and then went about and closed those gaps. And so that's a very simplified view of it, but do we need better methodology from an analytics side? Should we see what other companies are doing that give better results and more insightful results that we can action, more reliable? Do we need better tools? And we ended up signing with a vendor because it simplified how we did things and made more consistent results. And then how do we approach experimentation from all angles, from our partners who are depending on these results and making decisions as a result of them. And so how do we communicate findings? How do we communicate plans? And that was really, I think, really impactful. And so very rewarding because I could tell that it made a difference, not just in how we work, but in what decisions were made and how that impacted the bottom line. So, yeah, that was exciting. Yeah.
I'm going to actually answer with a project that Joanna also did, but I think is like a super important part of thinking about this role or roles in analytics at DraftKings. And I've seen it a couple times now, but we basically have a presentation on how to give good presentations.
There you go.
And what a good slide deck looks like and how to influence people. And I think one of the number one things I want to stress to new hires when they join my team or teams around me is my philosophy is analytics is like almost equal parts science and art. So there's the number crunching, the model building, the measuring lift, like all of that quantitative stuff. You obviously have to do that to have results to share. But if you get to the art piece of analytics and you're not able to, you know, tell a coherent story or you're not able to persuade people around like why what we're seeing is really important and we should take action on it, a lot of it's kind of academic. And so you lose the punch and you don't actually get to generate the influence that our teams are meant to generate. And so I love the presentation best practices because it shifts our gears away from the science part and more to the art piece, which, again, without that, like, a lot of this stuff will fall really flat. So I wish I could take credit for it, but, you know, one of Joanna's products.
Tyler is a role model in presenting well. So.
Well, that's why he's on the podcast,
Yeah,
obviously.
exactly.
It's funny you say that, though, because even in my world, data can be storytelling, too. So with being a creative, I never really focused on data. And then now coming into this role at DraftKings, it was such a big component. What are our social metrics? What are we doing? And I had to learn how to data storytell. And it's so fascinating how much you can pull from data. And it was such a learning and growth aspect for me. So love that you said that, too, because yeah, you got the numbers. How do you present them? How do you look at impact? How do you say, like, this is going to help the bottom line? This is going to help business decisions. It's just as important, too.
Absolutely.
Fantastic episode, guys. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
And thank you for listening. Make sure to follow us on social media at DraftKings Life, except for LinkedIn, where we're simply DraftKings. This podcast is available on all major podcast platforms, Apple, Spotify, Google, we got you. Be sure to download, listen, and even throw us a 5-star rating. Thanks so much and have a great day.